We're back here with Club Mix and brought to you by Mixology Mixer, and today we're whipping up some of those ease into summer cocktails with our Golden June kit. So first thing I want to do, there's a lot of little hidden accoutrements. I want to walk us through all the ingredients you guys should have in your kit, because here we bring the bar home to you, so you should have everything you need. All you need is a little glassware and some ice. Take a few of our ingredients away for our first cocktail today, which is our Golden Shandy. So the only things you're really going to need for this is going to be our little jar of lemon juice, a little jar of apricot syrup. We will definitely need our New Belgium fat tire here, and our little apricot slices. And we're going to get started making our Golden June. Alright, so I have all my ingredients together for my Golden Shandy for Golden June Mixology Mixer Club Mix kit. And the first thing I'm going to do actually is take my tin out here. So we're going to be making a shaking cocktail today. Anytime you have a shaking cocktail, you want that nice and balanced, cold, and two things have to happen. We're going to shake this guy real soon, but first we need to create a base. So when we talk about a base in the cocktail world, it's really just a balance of sweet and sour. So my first ingredient today, my Golden Shandy, is going to be my lemon juice. So I'm going to crack this guy open, and you should have a jigger. This is how we measure all things booze in the cocktail world. You should have a small side and a big side, and we're going to start with the small side today. And this should be 1 ounce for you. Your big side should be 1.5 ounces. And we're going to use the 1 ounce side, and we're going to fill it up about 3/4 of the way or so full. Doesn't have to be perfect, because our next step we're going to kind of fix it, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to simply pour my lemon juice in there. So that's going to be the acid part of my base. Anytime you have a little acidity, you need to balance that acidity out with some sweetness. Today we have a lovely summer flavor, the apricot syrup. It comes a little later in the summer, but we're getting right into it in June, and I love that flavor. So we're going to crack this guy open, and I'm going to use the same amount of my apricot syrup as I did of my lemon juice. If you think about the base, it's kind of that balance of sweet and sour, like if you were making lemonade or limeade at home. Also, everybody's palate is slightly different, so you might like a more tart cocktail or a more sweet cocktail, and this is the opportunity that we get to fix it. So what I like to do is give it a little taste here. Grab one of my spoons. Really just mix my base together. Put a little drop here. Nice. Not too sweet, not too tart, but again, this is the time. If you just poured whiskey right on that top of a good base, you're going to have a good drink already. And this is the opportunity to fix it. If you want to add a little bit more acidity, put a little more lemon juice, or if you want a little bit more of that sweetness, you can add a little bit more apricot syrup. That being said, I think mine is just about perfect. So now the next ingredient we're going to use is the star of the show today, our little Maker's Mark bottle. Maker's Mark is an awesome whiskey. They've been making it since 1952. Great bourbon. It mixes really well. It drinks really well on its own, to be honest with you, but mixes really well in shaking cocktails like we're making today, or even those stirred cocktails like Old Fashions or Manhattans. So I'm going to crack this guy open, and we're going to flip it over to the big side since we're moving into the bourbon. And I'm going to pour 1.5 ounces. So basically fill that guy up with Maker's. And we're going to pour that right over our base. As you can see, I did not use our Fat Tire New Belgium beer yet, because you never want to use anything carbonated when you shake. Two things will happen. One, you'll kill all those bubbles. Also, your tin might explode and you might be wearing your cocktail. We want to get our cocktails in our mouths today, so we're going to add that guy at the very end. Next, very important step in any shaking cocktail is we're going to add a nice amount of ice to get this cocktail nice and diluted properly. So if you don't have an ice shortage, I'm just going to fill up my little tin with ice. Just like that. And then first drink of the day, but make sure your top is on. And we're going to give this an aggressive shake. You need to shake it like you mean it. You know you've done your job right. If it gets too cold to hold, nice and frosty, I'll show you what I mean. So it didn't take long, but a nice aggressive shake goes a long way. And as you can see, my tin is very frosty. That did two things. It got my cocktail really nice and cold, ready to drink. And it also diluted it enough to make it a little more palatable. So all those shaking cocktails, those are meant to be light and refreshing, and that's what we're going for today. So the next step I'm going to do is ice my glass. I'm using a Collins glass today to showcase the beer that we're going to be using. Now I'm going to crack my tin open and simply strain it over the fresh ice. I like to use fresh ice because it keeps that diluted cocktail. We've already done our job here. Perfect temperature for the right amount of time. Just enough time for me to drink it. All right, that's perfect there. Beautiful color already. I smell that apricot. To be perfectly honest, this cocktail would be delicious on its own, but we are making a shandy. So traditional shandies are really just beer added to either a syrup, sometimes alcohol, and we're making a composed cocktail with beer as the element. So if you guys aren't familiar with Fat Tire, it's a delicious New Belgium beer from Colorado. I grew up there, so I've been drinking it, well, way too long. But this is gonna do two things. This is an amber ale, it adds a nice nuttiness and a little fruity. This also isn't very bitter. So that's gonna play really well with our apricot and our bourbon. And I'm gonna just pour a couple ounces right on top. And also the color plays really well. Awesome. Just nice little froth and head there. And you can see the color separation now. My shandy is really looking quite lovely. I'm going to top it off. I got some little apricot threads here. Use your creativity, whatever you want. I'm going to set a couple here on the side. Maybe one more, make it look really pretty and fancy. All right, I love it. So our first cocktail of the day, our Golden Shandy. So my Golden Shandy looks amazing, it smells amazing, but the best part about making any cocktail is that you get to drink it. So cheers to our first cocktail from our Golden June kit from Mixology Mixer, our Golden Shandy. It's a really nice pairing. That amber ale from Fat Tire, it's nice and sweet and it really balances with that apricot, and that bourbon comes in. You'll also notice we used a little less bourbon for this recipe as we will in the next two to counteract with that beer ABV. But I tell you what, this could stand up to a little bit of more, and this is a great way to start our Golden June kit.